these experiences with tarot cards, and, you know, I've heard many people talk about Ouija boards, things like this. Is this what opens up the possibility or leaves someone's susceptible to these familiar spirits and demons?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. That's why I was saying before, there's a gateway. So yeah, we're going to be without Christ. Well, actually, even in Christ, with their spiritual attack, as you mentioned, Sam, you know, we're not fighting a physical battle. There's a spiritual battle going on around us. So there'll be demons there. But when you start going down the divination, you know, path, when you practice divination, you're invoking demons. You're invoking the demons. You're saying, hey, come on over. It's okay. So these demons are prowling around to start as it is, right? But now it's like, hey, come on in. You know, I'm going to go do another reading. I'm going to go get my palm read. I'm going to do, and because they're the ones giving the information, these are the forces that are behind the tarot cards, that are behind the playing cards, the coffee grinds, the psychic mediums, and all of that. So yeah, you are inviting them into your life big time. And looking back now, it's frightening to think about not only how many were around me and then bother me, but the multiplication of them as I kept going deeper and deeper into this darkness.
That's very interesting. So when you speak about how they were around you, and I've heard in interviews in your books, you speak to how they even touched you. You've seen them as well, visibly. So I'm wondering, especially for those in the audience that might be new to this topic, how do these spirits present themselves? How do they look? How do they infect your life, I guess?
Yeah, they presented themselves in all different ways, from dark, shadowy figures to what we know as familiar spirits. So somebody that looks like a human, an entity that looks like a human being, looks like your grandma, your mom, you know, whatever, a child, or even just a stranger, but a human being. I used to see animals that I describe as like corpse animals or ghost animals, even though I hate the word ghost. It is in the Bible though, but, you know, that not three-dimensional. So they manifested, I realized this recently, in whatever way would accomplish whatever their agenda was for that moment. So if I was doing a psychic mediumship reading, oh, here's grandma, and she seems so innocent and nice, and this is comforting, and this is great. But then in moments, if they wanted to provoke fear in me, I wake up and there's this thing that looks like the Grim Reaper in front of my bed, or the animals, or when they touched me, that provoked fear, but also got my attention. They were trying to get my attention a lot, especially in the beginning, right before the mediumship happened. So sometimes it would just be even later on, cackling, you know, gray, shadowy figures, things like that, but in all different ways.
That's amazing. And I guess this goes back to what Sam was talking about earlier with the naturalists. We spend a lot of time here on Standing for Truth, focusing on Christian apologetics and engaging the naturalist, the atheist who rejects a supernatural worldview, or that God had created, or that God exists. And so I wonder how a skeptic would address what I'm sure you're not the only one who's seeing. Anybody who's involved in being a psychic medium would, I'm assuming, be seeing the same things. I've seen you even speak to, you were driving on the road, you'd be leaving a reading, and you would see them present themselves in the middle of the road for a split second.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's their mission, was they were trying to destroy me. That's what that's all they want to do, is destroy people. They want to destroy people here with severe demonic oppression, and their hope, I hate to use the word hope with demons, but their plan is to get you so far away from God, so far away from the truth, the gospel of Jesus Christ, so that your soul would be condemned with them and a fate in hell. So that's what they're trying to do. But, you know, the atheist is going, oh, I'm so sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I've spoken to atheists about this type of thing, and some of them are really willing to just say, listen, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how you knew all this information about perfect strangers. There was no Google, there was no website. As a matter of fact, something that I think is so awesome, how God uses people and our testimonies, is that if anybody gets to know me, you're going to find out that I'm not technologically savvy. And he's brought my ministry to technology, which is interesting. So back when I was a psychic medium, there was no website, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, there was none of that going on. So you have to then, let me put the burden on you. So then you explain to me how it is that I've never met you ever. I don't want your money. I'm here for an ultrasound. And I start telling you about your brother who passed away in a boating accident, what he looked like, names, who he was with. And how do I know that? Why is that even being told to me when you're just an innocent woman standing here giving me an ultrasound, So I would think the burden would be a little bit on them. But sometimes they say they really, truly don't know. And they're willing to say, I don't know, but it's not evidence enough for me to say your God exists.
Yeah, there's a pretty fascinating book called Imagine Heaven, and it's about near-death experiences and certain events similar to what you're saying. But I'd like to back up a little bit. You talked about inviting these spirits in. So as a Christian, we understand that when we accept Christ as Lord, we're indwelt with the Holy Spirit. We can no longer be possessed. But what about the Christian's home? And maybe they have a child that's playing with Ouija boards or doing things like that. How does that work? And what would any parent do to combat that? Or
yeah.
If
you're a Christian parent and you find out your child has their hands on a Ouija board, you're not going to Sally's house again, young lady. I always encourage Christian parents, number one, to be Christian parents. Don't worry about being their buddy. You're the one who knows better. You're the one who is trying to help bring them to Christ. Obviously, you've got to explain in an age appropriate way what is wrong with the Ouija board, what is wrong with things like that. I mean, kids now with the crystals, it's huge. And especially if these kids have any form of social media, the devil is targeting the children in such it's so disgusting. It makes sense because he's current and active, but these kids now have social media, and on Instagram, on TikTok, you can get readings at the click of a button. You can be influenced by these new age ideologies. And I feel very sorry for Christian parents out there, because they're probably feeling torn sometimes. Well, should they have an Instagram? Should they not? And they're trying to protect them, but yet they are going to be in the world. So parents, you need to explain to your children in an age appropriate way what this is, and know who your kids are spending time with. Don't just give them $20 and drop them off at the carnival. Warn them that there's usually a tarot card reader at the carnival, because come on, back in the day, when I was that age, 12, 13, here's $10, $20. Here, go to the fair, go to whatever. What are your kids looking at? What are they being exposed to? Who are they spending time with? And the most important thing any Christian parent can do, as we know, is pray that the Lord would protect them, because God loves them even more than we do. So pray and read to them and teach them about Jesus.
I'd like to, if I could. I'm quite interested in, I guess, Ouija boards, not obviously having experiences with them. I've never had an experience with a Ouija board, but I do have friends and family who have in the past, and they talk about how real their experience was. But then you have other people who would be skeptics and think it's all fake and there's nothing supernatural about it. And so you're saying that there is a supernatural aspect. There is something going on that's demonic with these Ouija boards. Is that right, Jen?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think you bring up a great point, because think about, there are people that will also say, hey, well, I tried out a palm reader and they're just a charlatan. They're just a huckster, and nothing happened, and they were wrong about everything and whatever. Listen, the devil and his minions are extremely intelligent creatures, extremely intelligent. So they know by watching, right? They've been watching the patterns of man for ages. They've been watching us for ages. Of course, there are familiar spirits. They know, just like I said before, they even knew how to manifest themselves depending upon what their agenda was. So for you, if it's, hey, this isn't supernatural, this isn't demonic, this isn't, Well, for you, that's a good way to keep you deceived to the truth about the supernatural, the truth about God and the devil, right? So that's a way for a demon to keep you away from Jesus. But for somebody else, you know, with the using the Ouija board, those demons might come in aggressive. And I mean, my goodness, I've heard some of the most horrible accounts of people using the Ouija board. And I think it's very interesting to me that most people, no matter what with the Ouija board, it's interesting you hone in on that.
Mm-hmm.
They already have some idea that it's demonic, and that's why they do it. They're intrigued by it. They're intrigued by the supernatural. What am I going to, is something going to happen? Is something not? Right? That is so dangerous. And it's marketed as a game for ages 8 and up.
Yeah.
You can't even drive until you're 17, 18 years old, but you can invoke demons. That's okay. I don't mean to be snarky at all. It's very upsetting to me, especially being a child afflicted by demons. It breaks my heart. But the Ouija board most certainly is a door opening. I use that term a lot, which simply means an entrance, giving them an entrance and a way to contact demons, because you're asking. That's what you're doing with the Ouija board. You're asking for information, expecting it to come from a supernatural source.
Right.
Yeah, let me ask about that. So you're asking information, and you're getting information now, which are types of prophecies, prophetic messages. But in the book of Deuteronomy, there's a litmus test for a prophet, that his prophecies have to come true 100% of the time. So how does that compare to the prophecies that these demons are giving?
Yeah. So first of all, psychic information is the counterfeit of prophecy, because we know that prophecy is a gift from God. We know that is God directly speaking through his prophets, right? Through his word, the prophecies, and it will always be true. Like you said, it will always be true. Psychic communication, however, is the counterfeit, the cheap imitation intended to deceive people. Okay. And the devil, so here's the thing. It's got to look so close. It's got to seem so convincing, because Satan masquerades as an angel of light. He's the master of illusion and deception. Here's the thing, though. Psychic communication, which is coming from demons, like I said before, are not omniscient. They do not know the future. So what they're going to do is they're going to tell you stuff about your past. They're going to tell you something that happened a week ago while you were in the room by yourself, because it's got to be convincing. Okay. And they were there, and they saw, and they witnessed, trust me. And you were, I always give these little analogies, you dropped your necklace and you were on the floor and you couldn't find it, but then you did. And then it belonged to your mom, and she died a week ago. And then you put it in your pocket and you went to the reading. And now the reader, should that demon step forward and decide that's the information they're going to give, can say that. And you're going to be like, but I was in the room by myself. How could this perfect stranger have known that? This has to be my mom coming through. See how you make the connect also, because you want it. You want to communicate with the dead. I know I'm going on a rant now. I'm sorry. I got go.
No, this is good. We could listen to you all day, Jen. No worries.
I start explaining. I kind of start because these are the questions that people have.
Right.
How does this work? What are they doing? But anywho, they do not know the future. So once they've hooked you with information, which when I was a medium, I used to call it validations. You'd be validating information that I was giving you. Now you're hooked in. Now this has got to be mom or my spirit guide or some sort of great entity who wants to help me and heal me and be there for me and give me wisdom and so on and so forth. And that's when they throw in, now let's do some predictions. Well, but what do you mean? But it came true. How could they have done that? Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak on that for a second about predictions, because what people need to know is this. Like you mentioned, right? God knows everything. God knows all. 100% has to be correct if it's coming from God, which is a prophet and his word, right? But the Bible, forgive me, the psychic is, again, speaking to demons who do not know the future, but have been around watching and studying for ages. They can make predictions with a high rate of accuracy. And I always say this, even I can, even you can. If I simply asked you, I know, Donny, you mentioned you have was it you, Donny, whose wife makes the thumbnails?
Yes.
Great job, by the way. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You have a wife. Your wife does X, Y, and Z Monday to Friday or whatever, the whole week, you know, for a month. If I asked you, Donny, what she's going to do the following Monday, you know, let's say every morning she gets up, she goes to the gym, she puts on the coffee, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Well, you're going to say to me, she gets up, she does this, she goes to the gym. And that day, you may be wrong because something else happens. But only God knows you will never be 100% because your information is coming from you, you know, prediction, and the psychics is coming from demon. So if we can make a prediction with a high rate of accuracy, how much more can the powers of the darkness do this that have been around for ages? I always say to people, I joke, you think we're difficult subjects? We're not difficult. We're not difficult. Hello. You know,
We're very predictable.
yeah, we're very predictable, but they're also around, these entities are around listening to things that you haven't heard, conversations, seeing things that you haven't seen, not in the way that God does, not in the way that God operates, of course, never God versus the devil, but they are seeing more than us. That battle is going on in the heavenly places. And they're influencing you as well. Remember that. We talk about that as well, the influence of these entities. So these demons, I always say it's kind of like you go, it's so heartbreaking. You go to these readings and these predictions, it's like them giving you that gentle nudge to do the thing, even,
Right.
you know, and they'll continue to do that. They'll give you these little gentle nudges in the wrong direction.